for fuck's sake! No, this has to be a dream. This can't be real. Hello to all my wonderful cheese balls out there, and welcome back to, you know what, fuck it! I don't care anymore! Really, I don't! Especially after playing these two fucking games. I thought Size Matters was bad and Secret Agent Clank was an abomination, but these two games suck double D's. Donkey dick.
But alas, I knew eventually we would have to cover these games at some point. Because after all, I really want to get this series over and done with to move over to other video game series out there like God of War, Kingdom Hearts, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Fable, Tekken, Fallout, Put Your Right Foot In, Put Your Right Foot Out, and many more titles. But I can't do that unless I take a look at what I would consider as the downfall to the Ratchet and Clank series. The last game we looked at was a crack in time, and while it had its issues, it ended the adventure for Ratchet and Clank perfectly in my opinion. Insomniac could have just finished up shop with the series right there, and I wouldn't have any problems with it. Because nothing lasts forever, and it's good to appreciate what you've experienced. But instead, they all of a sudden felt like they needed to push more Ratchet and Clank games down our throats, instead of letting us simply take it into our hands. We're going into some very stimulating territory right now, and if you never heard of these two games before, well, I don't blame you.
So because I have nothing interesting to say, why don't we take a look at both of those games in one video? And if I'm about to go through some pain right now, I'm taking you with me. Now of course, you can just leave the video and you won't feel any pain at all, but where's the fun in that?
Let the torment begin as we start off with Ratchet and Clank, All for One. Ratchet and Clank are being interviewed, and Ratchet adds that it's time to take a break from being a hero. Take a shot every time he says that, then afterwards going on an adventure. I don't know about you, but the models for Ratchet and Clank look off to me. Ratchet looks like he's been hit in the head one too many times, and Clank understood the importance of Viagra and doubled in size.
So, I guess you can call this game Size Matters.
And then we meet the Galactic President, Captain Quark. Yes, I'll say that again. Captain Quark. The same person that made a deal with Chairman Drek and the same person that unleashed the Protopets is now the president. Well, if Donald Trump can become the president, then Quark can as well. Quark gets invited to accept the Intergalactic Tool of Justice Award, and he asks for Ratchet and Clank to accompany him, until it was a trap caused by Dr. Nefarious, Lawrence, and brings a monster back alive. Only problem is that the monster instantly turns on Nefarious and Lawrence leaves him to die. What an asshole. And so it's up to Ratchet, Clank, Quark, and even Nefarious trying to work together to stop the dangerous threats that's happening around the galaxy. The story is, meh. I couldn't really get invested into the game's plot, but there is one thing that's not meh, and that is the idea of playing co-op. The main gameplay focuses on multiplayer, being able to play as Ratchet, Clank, Quark, and Dr. Nefarious. It's a lot more fun playing all for one with somebody next to you. But because the insert "I have no friends" quote, I was stuck with the AI. And at times, the AI can be extremely annoying, failing to follow instructions sometimes and just being an absolute dick to you. I mean, the AI is just jumping around instead of doing what I'm doing. It's not that hard. At the beginning, All for One shows off some tutorials on how to proceed, but I feel that some sections are a bit too handheld. You could say that Going Commando did this as well, but they didn't force you to stop and read some text unlike this game did. You can sprint from time to time, but it's only limited, which kinda sucks, but it doesn't bother me that much. As a co-op game, you have to work together to progress into the game, whenever it's defeating enemies, swinging from one place to another, and teaming up using torrents. Are you kidding me? They have fucking torrent sections? It may seem like I hate this game, but there are some nice things about it. All for One does look pleasant, even though it's stuck to 30 frames per second. The animation when you purchase a new gun is always enjoyable to watch, and it looks clean, and the puzzles are not too bad. I would probably say the puzzles here is one of my highlights in All for One. And Insomniac still knows how to pull off some good writing without going overkill.
Well, I don't like to brag, but I did modify my crotchetizer with a special vibrating function I call the Happy Platypus.
Thank you, Insomniac. Now I can't stop thinking about Quark using a vibrator.
So, when I said I had nothing interesting to say about these two games, seriously, I don't. So, how do I feel about All for One? Nah.
Going into it, I was expecting to not enjoy this game, but it's okay. It's not the worst Ratchet and Clank game I've played, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's the best. It's a harmless game that does what it needed to do, but nothing extraordinary or groundbreaking. I would recommend trying this game only if you can play it with someone, but playing it alone can be pretty boring. But all in all, this game is skippable. So this brings us to Full Frontal Assault, and maybe, just maybe, that this game can be something great that people can remember playing for years to—
It's not. It's not good. If I thought All for One was okay, then this is gonna blow your fucking mind.
One down and one to go, let's not waste time and take a look at Ratchet and Clank Full Frontal Assault. The story begins with the former Galactic President, Captain Quark, moping around on how boring everything is and there's nothing to shoot.
Computer, find me something to shoot!
Sorry, dude, we got nada on the radar. Have an awesome day, though.
It's interesting that Mikey Kelly gets a small cameo in this game, but I just wish that he could have gotten a better role.
Maybe the story could have been about time travel instead. Both Ratchet and Clank go back in time to meet their old selves, and James Arnold Taylor could interact with Mikey Kelly and— Wait a second! That would have been a much more better story than what we have now! Where's the great clock when you need it?
Anyway, they receive a transmitter from a mystery villain challenging Ratchet, Clank, and Quark, and in return, Quark accepts and reforms the Q-Force. So all three of them have to save each planet they come across and stop the mysterious bad guy. Much like All for One, I couldn't care less about the story. It had potential, but then it just goes downhill from there. Later on, the villain reveals himself as Stuart Zogo, the #1 fan of Captain Quark back in the original trilogy. It's a neat idea from Insomniac's part, but the problem is that Stuart Zogo is perhaps one of the worst villains in the series. Even more worse than Otto from Size Matters. All he does is mock you and says anything meme related, which is super cringy. Don't get me wrong, I love my memes, but don't shove it down people's throats because that's when the joke gets ruined.
They took out one of our generators.
And watching them destroying it, mind you.
So, what's the gameplay? Actually, what is the gameplay? You defend the objective from upcoming attacks until you win. It's a very interesting concept, but there is one teeny tiny problem I have about it, and it can be summed up in 4 words. Balloon fucking tower defense.
How? Who in the ever-living hell would come up with this idea? I've said this before and I'm saying it again. This is not Ratchet and Clank. This is Balloon Tower Defense with Ratchet and Clank skins. So you're basically telling me that we went from a 3D action platformer to fucking Balloon Tower Defense. I am not okay with this. I am not invested in the gameplay, nor I don't want to be invested at all. You can explore around beating enemies and all that, but adding in the gameplay idea and exploration doesn't match well, as you constantly have to go back and forth from your base, and it is very tedious. The new idea to get weapons is to play a small minigame first from a weapons pod, and then you can get the weapons. They are really repetitive, and what sucks is that for every time you start a new level, all the weapons you got are back in the pods, which means you have to do it all over again. Such fun. You can defend your base by placing down torrents, mines, shields, and many more, because what would a balloon tower defense ripoff be without having some defense on your side? So far, I haven't talked about the other features like the soundtrack and the weapons lineup, because, let's be honest, it's the same kind of material you would expect. The soundtrack sounds okay, and the weapons are fine for what they are, even if it has to be the same ones like the blaster, explosive gun, disc blade, rocket gun, Mr. Zircon, and the Groovatron.
I don't know what to add at this point. There's only a couple of things I like. I like the name, Full Frontal Assault. It's a badass name. And I also like Quark's rapey face. That got a laugh out of me. But overall, this is shit.
I'm still speechless from what I've experienced. How does this game exist? I don't even know, and I'm going to pretend that it doesn't exist. If you like this game, then good for you, it's your opinion and you should like whatever game you like. But I think this is one of the worst Ratchet and Clank games I ever played. Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank wasn't exactly my favorite games, but at least they were so bad that it was fun nitpicking it apart, and I had a good time with that. But here, this is just sad. But do you want to know the most saddest part about this game? This is considered as their 10th year anniversary with the series. What a way to celebrate 10 years, Insomniac. But seriously, if you hear that someone hasn't played the Ratchet and Clank series yet, would this be the first game that you would recommend to someone? And don't say yes as a joke, because really, there are many other Ratchet and Clank games with so much more content, so much more passion put into it, and so much more better than this pile of manure.
Full Frontal Assault is a game that's not worth your time. It is the perfect definition of cancer, and it should be avoided and buried at all cost.
But until then, join me next time as we take a look at Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus, even though in Australia it's called Ratchet and Clank Nexus for some strange reason. But until then, thank you for watching this review, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe today. My name's Cheese and Crackers, telling you... I really need to get some more sleep. Balloon Tower Defense? What's next? Ratchet and Clank with Fortnite gameplay or something? Oh wait, that was a joke, don't